Hey, welcome. Today it's a very important day because we are going to see 10 fantastic chess traps that will help you to play better chess. And without further ado, let's dive in. First things first, in order to win early with white pieces, we should develop our queen early. And after that moves, you can play something like queen h5. Very interesting. I have a video about that and I'm going to give links below, not only for that video, but for other traps as well. And here we are threatening this one, and after knight to c6, we can play bishop to c4, reinforcement our threat. And here we're threatening f7, and for example, after that, we can deliver this checkmate in 4 moves. Very popular, the scholar's checkmate. Let's move forward. This technique to develop early your queen, you can do that in many openings. For example, in Caro-Kann, I have 10 fantastic traps in Caro-Kann, and you should see that video as well. And now we can play something like knight f3, and after development, develop the other knight, and after that we can capture with the knight f6 for example, and here we can play queen e2. Again, can you recognize the technique? The technique is to develop your queen early, because the queen is powerful piece and she can create a lot of threats. For example, here we're threatening to capture and double black pawns. She can reply something like that, and now he fell into the trap because you can win. It is a checkmate in 1 move with knight to d6. The pawn is pinned, cannot capture that knight, so he lost. And for example, we can play in other way here. For example, after e4 c6, we can play the other knight out, knight to c3, and after that we can play immediately queen to e2. The idea is after this we can capture with a knight, and here if he just develop his knight on f6, we can capture, and he cannot recapture with the e pawn. He was forced to capture with that one. For that reason, maybe black has the idea to play knight to d7 first in order to develop the knight and exchange some pieces, but here he fell into the trap again because we have the same mating motif, and this is knight d6, again a checkmate. Oh, let's go forward to see more about that. It's trap number 3 right now, and we can play Ponziani opening, for example. What is this? After e4, e5, knight here, knight to c6, you can play c3. In order to win, if you don't like to develop your queen very early, you can sacrifice something. You can create a gambit. Gambit is a special chess word when we sacrifice a pawn in order to speed up our development. This is the main idea. Here in this opening, we would like to play d4 in order to occupy the center. For example, he can play something very natural like bishop to c5, but it's a bad move because you can play d4. And you can see we are controlling the center very well. He can capture, we can recapture. We are protecting that pawn very well with the knight and queen. He has to go away actually, and we have this fantastic center. This is the main idea. Of course, you can play different moves after this move c3. It's a very interesting opening, not very popular, but it's interesting. He can play something like knight f6, right? Because he's attacking this pawn on e4. Here we can play d4, attacking his e5 pawn, and he can capture. Of course, we can capture on e5 again, but we have something else. You should sacrifice, you should gambit a pawn, and we can play d5. Because his knight now has some problems. It looks natural to go forward. He cannot go on d4 obviously, and maybe he can try knight a5, but again the knight is lost there because it's the knight in the rim is dim, and we can play b5 attacking that knight, and this knight don't have any good squares. For example, here we can capture the knight, so he cannot go there, and the most natural move is to go on e7. Here we can recapture, and the most popular move here, not the best one, but very popular move, is to play something like d6. It's very natural because he would like to attack the knight should go away and continue the game, but already he performed a very bad mistake, and now white is winning. In order to win, we should create threats, and we can do that with this move, bishop b5 check. What to do? If he just play bishop d7, we can capture there. He's threatening our knight, but we have the time, we have the initiative, and the knight is still there on the board, and the knight can create some threats. For example, we can capture here, he's forced to capture with the queen, and we won material. For that reason, he should try something else, something like c6, but again, we can capture, sacrificing the knight, because after this, we have a fantastic move, and this fantastic move is to capture on b7. Now it is a check from the bishop. He should play something like that. We can win the rook, but we would like to win the rook for free, and for that reason we would like to capture first on d7, lure the queen away, remove it from the 8th rank, and after this we can capture the queen. This is a check, he should go here, and this is a checkmate. Cool, right? And another variation I didn't mention, I think here, another variation is to capture on c6, but then we can capture with a knight. This is knight takes, a check, we are threatening the king and the rook, and after this we can capture the rook, but even better is to capture the knight here. So white is winning here for sure. I think you can win that game with white piece, right? You have material advantage. And now let's jump forward to trap number 4, and trap number 4 is this one. We should create some gambits. After this we can play bishop to c4, and here if you just play bishop c5 you should continue with gambits, and here an interesting gambit is the Evans gambit, b4. What is the idea? Like Ponziani, we would like to remove this bishop from this important d4 square, and after this we can play c3, he can go away, and now d4 again. We can sacrifice a pawn. This is the extra pawn, right? But we have fantastic development and we are creating some threats against his pieces. For that reason we have compensation. This is one idea. Another idea is to play knight f6, for example, the two knights defense. Very interesting, very aggressive line for black, but he should be careful and know a lot of things. We can play knight g5, this aggressive move. And here please let me mention that if he just played bishop to c5, the Italian opening, he is controlling this g5 square, so we cannot jump there because the queen is controlling that square. But if he plays knight f6, the more aggressive opening, we can jump on g5 because this knight is not hanging right now, and the knight is threatening to capture on f7, creating the double attack. And black should know what he is doing here because he can lose very quickly, right? We are attacking f7, and he should play this move d5. An amateur or a player who is not very familiar with that position, maybe he can find this one because he is stopping the threat against f7. So we can capture here, we are threatening the knight, and the most natural move for black is to recapture that pawn. But already he fell into the trap because you have a fantastic attack right now. I created 3 videos about that, and you can read the description below in order to see that videos. And we have a fantastic idea to continue the game, and this is knight takes f7, the fried liver attack. We are threatening queen and king and rook, so he has to recapture with the king, and now we have queen f3 check. Not only threatening the king, but the knight as well. For example, he can go, I'm going to play a wrong move right now, he can play king g8, and now you have checkmate in 3 moves. Can you find this checkmate in 3 moves? It's your turn. And yep, the correct move is to sacrifice maybe the queen. It's more elegant, more nicely to capture like that, and after this we can recapture. He should interfere with the bishop, but here it's a checkmate. He cannot go anywhere because we are attacking the king, cannot go anywhere. So he cannot go there obviously, and after king to e6 we can play knight c3 here, and we are threatening the knight is spin. We have many pieces. After that we can play something like queen e4, d4 and things like that in order to attack the enemy king. And white is almost winning here. He has almost a winning attack because the enemy king is in the middle of the board, and this is not good, right? At this point I'd like to talk about the chess opening package, which contains Scandinavian defense, Grand Prix attack and Benko Gambit. If you click in any of those links you can see the detailed curriculum of the lessons. Each course contains theoretical videos and analyzed games. In total we have 46 theoretical videos, which are more than 11 hours, and approximately 200 analyzed games. Only 1 hour of a professional trainer cost approximately 20 euros, and you can see here the outstanding final price of this package. If you're interested and you'd like to own this package, then you can click the link in the description of that video. Trap number 5 with white pieces. Very interesting this one. We can play c4, the English attack. We can transpose this one from e4 as well. I see it there as well. So we have e5, knight c3, knight here, development, and g6. It looks natural to develop the bishop here in order to control the dark squares, and more specifically the d4, because white maybe would like to play d4. For that reason he would like to develop the bishop on g7 if he unsettled the bishop. And now we can play d4 right now, because we are ahead in development. He can capture here, and as we mentioned, we have two techniques in order to attack very early. We can develop our queen very fastly, or we can gambit a pawn, and here white is gambling this pawn. He can play knight d5, sacrificing temporarily this pawn, and actually be careful. For example, after the natural looking move knight here, in order to kick away this powerful knight from d5, we have checkmate in one move, and this checkmate is like that, checkmate, right? So he has to play something else, and this different move is bishop g7. Here we can play bishop to g5, attacking the queen, and here we should attack the queen because he's not controlling very well these two squares. The most natural move is to play knight g to e7, and now we have a fantastic move, really brilliant move with the white pieces. And white pieces here would like to attack. How to do that? We can play knight takes d4. It looks extremely dubious. It's bad move because he is controlling that square, but our main idea is to remove his dark square bishop. For example, after here let's play a normal move. After castling, for example, we can capture on c6 in order to understand what white is threatening. We can capture there, and after this recapture we can capture on e7, and we can win a piece. Of course he has other options. The other option is to take with a knight on d4, let's say, and here we can take on e7, right? So the knight from c6 is forced to protect that one. So he should try the different move, and the different move is to capture with the bishop. It looks very natural. What are you going to do now? And here exactly is the trap that we have, and we can take with the queen. Amazing move, because we're threatening the rook here, and if he just captures here, we can deliver checkmate in two moves again. How to do it? With this forcing move check. King has only one square, and now we can perform this Blackburn checkmate idea with the light pieces. With the bishop we are attacking king. Enough with white. Now we're going to see how to play with the black pieces, right? And I'm going to provide you one of the most interesting games. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, we have the Italian here. You have many good moves. For example, you can play the normal Italian with knight to c5, bishop c5, sorry, or you can play the two knights defense. Both of them are very sound openings, and they are good openings for black. But here we have a trick. You can sacrifice something in order to win fastly, right? To win right now in the first round, and we can play knight to d4. What is this move? It looks a bad move, right? Because we are sacrificing that pawn. The dude of that knight, the defensive role, it has a defensive role to protect that square on e5. But jumping forward, we're leaving that one, right? And it looks extremely tempting for white to capture that pawn, because not only capturing a pawn, but in the same time he's attacking f7, and if that knight comes here, we can attack the queen and rook. And this is a very nice game because we can understand what the double attack is. And here black can play this double attack, queen g5. He is attacking the knight right now, and he is attacking the g2 pawn. But white can capture on f7 happily. He can play this move very happily because we are attacking the rook in the corner and the queen as well. Black can continue his idea. He can capture on g2. And now white can thought that, okay, this rook cannot go anywhere, right? It's trapped in the corner, so I'm going to save my rook, not hanging this rook with check, and I can play something like rook f1. And what are you going to do now? Because I'm going to capture your rook. But here it's black's idea, and here black can capture on e4. The only good way to protect his king, to block this check, is with the bishop, and here you're winning. Can you find the winning idea? It's black's turn. You have three good moves here, and many players cannot find the best move actually. The best move here is to deliver the checkmate on f3. This is a checkmate, the smothered checkmate, because king cannot go anywhere and the knight is attacking the king. Another good move is to capture on c2, because we are threatening the king and the rook, so he has to sacrifice the queen in order to save the game, and the third move is to capture the knight. Both of these three moves, any of these three moves is good, but the best one of course is to deliver the checkmate with the knight, because it is a checkmate. And let's move forward to see next. The next trap is this one, and we have e4, d5, the Scandinavian defense. I created lessons about that. It's a very nice opening. The best opening I think in order to start playing something with the black pieces. It's a very nice strategical opening, and you are going to learn a lot of things. You can build up your understanding with this Scandinavian defense, but we're not going to deeply analyze this opening. We are going to see a fantastic trap, and after d5 he can capture here. We can recapture instantly. This is what I'm talking on my course, to recapture with the queen. It's a very nice and sound positional reply, but here you can play knight f6. You are threatening to capture on d5 with a knight, and if white is greedy to play something like c4, many players is going to play something like that. You can play here e6, the Portuguese gambit, and the idea is of course to recapture with a pawn here, and if he just captures, we sacrificed a pawn in order to speed up our development and how we are going to develop our pieces. We can play bishop here. We are putting more pressure on c4, and what we are going to do next we can play bishop to b4. I'm going to play moves only with the black pieces. We can develop the knight, and you can see we are controlling some squares here. We are making more difficult for this pawn to move forward, so if this pawn is there, he cannot really develop his pieces. This is the problem. And if this pawn is here, he cannot develop his other pieces, the other bishop. And we can play queen to e7, try to deliver some discover threats, something like that, and after that we can castle long side. This is the typical way that black can play. This is what black is aiming, and after that we can bring the other rook in the center of the board. And here, for example, he can play something like d4, the most natural move, but already this is a small mistake. Here we can play bishop b4 check, attacking the king. He can play bishop b2, but here we can take queen e7. Again, the same tactical motif. We are going to capture here on c4 with discover threat, and after that, if he just parry that or play something else, we can continue to develop our pieces. Knight c6, a long castling. This is the main aim for the black pieces. But the other way, he can block with the bishop or he can block with the knight. And after knight c3, we can play knight e4, and here, believe it or not, white is almost lost. Almost lost. Why? Because he can play many different moves. Of course, knight a4 is not hanging a piece, he is attacking our king and bishop, because we have knight to c6 and everything is protected right now, everything. And if you play something like d5, if you're dreaming something like that, attacking this one and this one, we are ahead in development. How you can understand that? It's like football. We scored 4 goals, right? Something like that. It's 4 against 2. This is how to understand the development easily. We are ahead in development. And here black has a very nice move, and this is queen to f6. Not only pressing here on c3, pressing the knight and after that the rook, but also threatening checkmate on f2, or to capture on f2 and after that the bishop on f1. So black is completely winning here, completely winning. Wrong arrow actually, and we should go here. We analyzed queen a4, and he can play something like queen d3, not only protecting that one but attacking the knight as well. It looks natural, right? And here we have bishop to f5. What is the idea? Not only protecting the knight but creating a tactical motif. You should be aware of these tactical motifs to see the diagonals, the files, discoveries, things like that. And here we are threatening, not right now, in the future, to give this discover threat. The knight is protecting the bishop, attacking the queen, and the knight from there is attacking the rook as well. For example, he can play something like that. We can castling, bishop e2 maybe to develop his pieces, and now we have this very, very powerful discovery, knight g3, with we are attacking the king and the rook as well. So black is winning here. Black is completely winning. And the other way is to play something like bishop to d2. Here we can capture the pawn. The material is equal, and if he just continue developing his pieces, we can perform this nice checkmate with queen. Queen takes f2, checkmate. Let's move forward. How to play against this d4 move. Many players will play this move. Some of them maybe no opening theory, or some other players we would like to play a very solid game in order not to lose instantly. Maybe they're playing d4 with this way. So how to win easily and how to win fast. I created 3 videos about that, about Englund Gambit, and this is started with the move e5. And after pawn takes, knight here. Many players actually, when they play this gambit, they play some nonsense like knight to c3, then he just give up the pawn back, right? Like something like that. And after e4, bishop to c5, and black has no problems because we just develop everything. We can play something like d6, freeing that bishop, knight goes here, we can castle short side, and everything looks smoothly here for black. Everything looks okay. But the most ambitious players, of course, after this move e5 and takes knight c3, is going to protect that pawn. And he can do that with a knight f3. Here we can play queen e7, attacking this pawn again on e5, because we have 2 pieces. And the most natural way for white is to protect that pawn with bishop to f4. It looks like, what are you doing with black pieces, right? Because the queen is here, blocking the bishop, you cannot take the pawn. What are you going to do? But we have something in mind, and this is to give a check on b4. And right now we're attacking the king, we're attacking the bishop, we're attacking b2. What he's going to do? The only move in order to protect many of his pieces is to play bishop to d2. We can capture on b2, threatening the rook. The best move actually here, do you know what is the best move? And the best move is to develop the knight here on c3, but you can play bishop to c3 because it looks very natural, right? He's attacking the queen, it protecting the rook with this x-ray, attacking the queen should go back actually. After that he starts developing the pieces, over protecting this e5 pawn with this bishop and knight, and it looks fantastic. But already he fell into the trap, because here we can play bishop to b4, pinning that bishop, threatening that bishop, and threatening the rook as well, because the bishop is pinned, cannot capture back. This is our idea. And here, if you just capture here, we have many ideas. One of them is to capture with a knight, because we are threatening on c2. And after this we have some tricks. The trick is to capture on a1, and after that to deliver this double threat, and here we can capture the queen. Black is completely winning, but we have another idea, and better idea actually is to capture on c2 with the knight, because she has to sacrifice the queen, and here we can take with the queen. Black is winning here. This is the idea. So he should try something else, and the other move is queen to d2. Queen d2, because he is protecting that bishop, and everything looks just perfect for white, everything. But here we can take on c3, threatening the queen and threatening the rook as well. What to do now? He should capture with the queen actually here in order to protect everything, and it looks really nice. But here we can deliver a checkmate in one move, and this is why this gambit is so popular. We can play this queen c1, and this is a checkmate.
Ho ho! Like time!
Trap number 3 or trap number 8. Trap number 3 with black or trap number 8. Let's go to trap number 9 or 4, and we have the Albin counter gambit. This is after d4, d5 and c4. This is the most natural move for white, because he would like to remove that pawn from the center or try to attack that pawn in order to eliminate it, and after that play e4. This is the main idea. And here we can counter gambit white's idea. We can play e5. Very nice. Attacking his pawns. He can capture this free pawn, and here we can play d4. What is the idea? Isolating this one, we can play something like that, and we're preventing white's development. You see, with gambit, it's like to try to trick the other player, try to harm his normal development. This is our main idea. And d4 looks a very powerful pawn. For that reason, it looks very natural for white here to play the move e3, because he would like to eliminate that pawn. And here we can play bishop b4. Already he has troubles here. Black is better because we're attacking the king. He can play something like that. And here d takes e3. It looks dubious because we just sacrifice a piece or blunder a piece, right? But we had something in mind, and this one is to capture on f2. Of course, king cannot capture here because we can capture the queen, and black is completely winning, so he can play king e2 and say, okay, everything is just fine. Here you should be extremely careful actually, because if you make a mistake you can lose the game, and the most natural move is not good. The most natural move is to give this check on g4, and this is a blunder, bad move, because he can play knight to f3 and everything is protecting. He has an extra piece, this bishop on b4 is extra, and he's going to win the game. So how we are going to win? And here we have a very nice and tricky move, a very beautiful move actually. We can capture the knight on g1 with the pawn, and we are not going to create new queen, we are going to create a knight. Because we are destroying, eliminating a key defender, this knight, we are threatening bishop g4, and in the same time we are attacking the king. What to do now? He can capture with this one, and we can deliver this check with the bishop. He can go somewhere and we can capture the queen. So black is winning. This goes trap number 9, and let's dive in trap number 10, in the last trap, and this last trap is this one with black pieces, e4, e5, here knight f6. This is the Russian defense, right? I created videos about that, the Stafford Gambit, how to play the Stafford Gambit. He can capture here on e5, this is very natural, and here usually black plays this move d6. But we can play knight to c3, knight c6, attacking the knight. He is going to capture here, and after that we can recapture with a pawn. What we gain in about this exchange, right? We have open bishops, the bishops can develop very early, and right now we are attacking the pawn. This is the idea. And after d3 it looks natural, we can play bishop c5. We sacrificed a pawn in order to develop our pieces very fast. Bishop to e7, bishop e2, he's trying to develop the bishop and castling short side, and here you can play a very aggressive move, and this aggressive move is h5. Why we playing this one? In order to have this pivot square with the knight. We would like to move forward with the knight and create some problems against the white king side. And for example, after castling, he looks safe, right? Because he just castled his king. It should be safe, but actually it's not, because you can play knight to g5. We are not threatening something like now, but right now, but this knight is very annoying there. Maybe we can play queen h4 and try to create a checkmate. So you can try something like h3 in order to kick out our knight. How we are going to continue? And here we can continue with a beautiful move, and this beautiful move is queen to d6. Very nasty move, because we are threatening checkmate in one move. So he has to capture the knight. Maybe he can capture like this, and we can recapture with a pawn. Again, we are threatening checkmate, because now we don't have this defender with a knight, but we have the rook, that the rook is supporting the queen, and we are threatening checkmate on h2. He can play g3, and here we can win the game with this powerful move, queen takes g3, checkmate, game over, because this bishop is helping and the pawn cannot recapture. Use these traps in order to win a lot of games.
Thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Here it's time for action. This is the initial page of my website, and here you can click Give me access to get access to free lessons. You can read this page, and if you scroll down, here you can add your name and your email. After that, you're going to take a free lesson how to avoid chess blunders. So time for action is now, and you're very welcome to join my mail list.